It's time for the One Bar and Lupaga Show, bringing you anything and everything Minnesota Vikings.
Welcome to professional football.
All right, welcome to the One Bar and Lupagus Show. I am One Bar, joined with Lupagus, who has graced us with his Viking swim cap today.
Yeah, I just got done doing about 500 laps of the butterfly stroke, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Wow. All right. Well, in today's episode, we're going to readdress some possible free agents that the Vikings might have their peepers on even after the draft, because, damn it, we know there's still holes to fill.
Well, there is, and I do feel like, I don't know if you agree with me, but doesn't it feel like the Vikings are like more than willing to go with the youth movement right now at a lot of these positions?
Yeah, they're going with a youth movement that causes me to have a ball movement.
Well, I just think that if they do add anybody, it would be a bit of a surprise. But let's just talk first about the first three positions that they might be addressing in free agency.
Before we get into that, we got some Vikings trivia here.
Well, we do, and we also should tell everybody to subscribe and to our channel, like our videos. That's very important.
It's very, very important. Subscribe to the One Bar and Lupagus Show. Today's trivia question. DJ Wanham, fourth-round pick from South Carolina.
Yeah.
He wasn't born DJ. What is DJ Wanham's real first name? You stick around to the end of this video. We're going to tell you. You're going to be amazed.
Really?
No.
I'll think about that. I'm going to have a good guess.
All right. Give us our three. But before we get into that, the Vikings have been known to bring in some crusty veterans after the draft. They've done it a few times. And guys are hanging around where they're realizing they're not getting their big payday and they just want to play some damn football, so they'll come in a bargain. So I would say there's still a mild chance that they could bring somebody in.
There is, and the one that comes to mind in recent years is Kendall Wright, the wide receiver. They brought him in. I think he was a June signing, ended up not making the team. He's not a June signing?
No, he didn't make the team. I'm just upset.
No, he didn't. And whenever they did sign him, everybody was pumped. It was Kendall Wright, former first-round pick, and I think I called that he wasn't going to make the team.
You did. I remember that. All right, get into our three positions that we could still look at.
Yeah, I think there's three here, and I definitely don't think there's any other than this. But cornerback is one if they want a veteran. The most experienced guys on the team right now are Mike Hughes and Holton Hill, who are both going into their third year. Guard's another one where right now it's just a mix of a bunch of young guys trying to battle it out for one of these starting jobs. And defensive end, besides Adenabo and Hunter, there's just a lot of lack of experience behind those two. So those are the three. I think if they do bring somebody in, it's one of those three spots.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Let's look at some of these guards that we could possibly get a nice little discount on.
Well, I think there's really only one option, and it's Josh Klein.
Yeah.
And if I'm Josh Klein, maybe now I'm not feeling so bad about getting cut. And since no one else is really showing a lot of interest in me, I did read somewhere that he was kind of testing the market, see what his market is, but it sounds like it's been shit. So I think his best bet is coming back to the Vikings, and I would welcome him back with wide open arms. I would kiss him real slobbery all over. But because to me, he was our second best offensive lineman last year. You plug him in on the right side, and all you got to worry about is one spot now.
Yeah, and that's all I had down. Josh Klein. I mean, it's just a perfect scenario for not only Klein because he knows the team, he knows the offense, but for the Vikings. He could come in. We know what we got. There has to be something with injuries or something that's just completely turning the Vikings off from Klein. But when you look at the other free agents at guard, there is little to nothing. Even Michael Schofield, who is around, that would have been a decent fit. He just signed with the Panthers. So other than Klein, it's a bunch of old, crusty guards that won't even push Pat Elflein.
Yeah, I looked around, and there was really no one else who I think would be a good fit for Kubiak's zone blocking scheme. So, yeah, it's only Klein. And, again, it's I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but if they do, he's the only option. Only option.
I'm not completely shutting it down. I still think there's a mild chance. Or if they get into training camp or preseason, they realize that Drew Samia is just not ready, Josh Klein, I'm sure, would be on the top of their list to call. So my heart says I hope he doesn't sign with anybody and he's still a free agent when we get into preseason. And maybe he's a backup guy that we can call.
Yeah, and I think he will. I think if he was going to sign, he would have signed by now. I really do. So let's talk about how about some defensive ends. Who you got?
Defensive ends, boy. Well, it's easy to say that, Everson Griffin's out there, Clowney's out there, but we got to be realistic about this. And, I wish that we had that old crusty veteran on the team. We're kind of lacking that. I mean, Daniil Hunter has been here, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, and he's still like 22 years old.
Yeah, so I guess he's considered a veteran right now, but when you look at defensive ends out there, that's pretty much what it is old crusty veterans. And guys that stick out. I mean, Vinny Curry, he's played with the Eagles. He still played 16 games last year. I think he had 5 sacks. Old, very extremely crusty Cameron Wake, but there's not much out there for defensive ends.
No, and I think if you bring in a veteran defensive end, that probably means you're saying goodbye to Kenny Willekes because
no,
I know, right? And they only usually keep 4 defensive ends. So if you bring in a veteran, he makes the team. And Willekes, you got to risk getting him on the practice squad, which I don't know if he, I could see a team snapping him up. So that is the big concern. Another guy I had was Ziggy Ansah. He's really been crap the last couple of years, only 6.5 sacks the last 2 seasons, but maybe he's got one more good year up his sleeve. But the guy I do like, and I think it would be worth the risk of trying to stash away Kenny Willekes, would be Everson Griffin. Having him back on this team, as your third defensive end, as the primary backup, as a veteran leader, it would be huge. I love Everson Griffin, and I really thought he would have had a way more, hot market than he did coming off the year he had last year, where I think he ended up with 7 sacks, but he had 3 that were called back. But he just played with such determination, such fire last year. He really silenced a lot of critics, showed that he still got a couple years of good football left in him. And the fact that he's still a free agent it baffles me.
Yeah, we can still hold out hope that he's going to come back at a nice team-friendly discount. But yeah, that is very surprising. Even if they had to keep 5, like you said, I think Kenny Willekes will, everybody's pulling for that guy. How can you not love him? But we do need that. We need that veteran presence up front, and even at defensive tackle, really don't have it.
Yeah, so a lot of question marks there, but I think the big one, and maybe the most likely position, is cornerback. The Vikings did hit this pretty hard in the draft, bringing in basically 3 guys: Jeff Gladney in round 1, Cameron Dancer in round 3, and then Harrison Hand, whether or not he becomes a safety or a corner, and even Neville Clark after the draft. So there's a lot of depth here.
Hey, you always forget Chris Boyd. You hate Chris Boyd.
Well, no, I was talking about the rookies, but you look at. So you got these 3 guys, these 3 or 4 new guys, and you got the 3 youngsters from last year. There's a chance the Vikings just say, hey, our depth or our leadership in the secondary is going to come from the safety position with Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris. That's definitely something they could do and not worry about having a young group of corners. But there is some pretty big names still available on the free agent market.
Big names, and some of them just absolutely suck.
Yeah. The first one, I think you hate this guy, but I would like him. And
hey, I don't hate anybody.
You hate Dre Kirkpatrick.
I don't hate Dre Kirkpatrick. He just never lived up to his draft status.
Well, all right, so he played with Meg Zimmer his first couple of years. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. He knows the system. He knows what Zimmer wants. He can come in, teach these young guys, have a spot, be that guy, making sure everybody's lined up right, knowing their assignments and not doing anything stupid, pre-snap. So Kirkpatrick could be a huge addition to the Vikings secondary.
I think the issue with Kirkpatrick is I think he thinks he's worth a lot more money than he is. I think he's really holding out and thinking somebody's going to come to him for $15 million a year for some reason. So he's even with the Vikings right now, he probably wouldn't even be a starter.
But you don't need these guys to start. You have these guys there to ensure these young kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I think having someone there who's done it, I think is huge, rather than just hear from a coach all the time. And then one guy who I think is definitely that coach mentor role, who might not even make the team, but a guy the Vikings could just bring in to have in the preseason to kind of teach these youngsters what to do, what to expect, is Morris Claiborne. The Vikings already had this guy in last year for a visit. They know what he can bring to the table, which isn't much these days. But you had this guy around. You keep him around for the preseason. kind of just get in the heads of these young guys, teach them what they need to do, what they need to be looking for, giving them the tips he's learned in all of his years. Maybe he doesn't make the team, but even having him there in the preseason, I think would be, a huge boost to these kids' development. I keep saying kids.
Yeah, younglings.
They are younglings.
Yeah, I mean, there's some older vets out there can still play. Prince Amukamara,
Yep.
Logan Ryan, way out of our price range. He's going to sign with somebody still with a lot of money. One guy that sticks out, I mean, when you look at what the Vikings will be looking for is something cheap, maybe somebody that wants to just sign a one-year prove-it deal and make a payday next year. Eli Apple, I mean, that dude is still 25 years old. It seems like he's been in the league for like 15 years. So there's still some big names at corner out there. And this is the one position I really, really hope the Vikings just bring somebody in, even if they're not a starter, like you said, even if it's somebody that's a number 3, number 4, that can just teach these guys and light a fire up their ass.
You mentioned Eli Apple. Did you know Eric Coughlin used to eat the apple cores?
Well, I'm sure he had great ball movements.
Yeah, I got 2 other guys who I think could be potential options for the Vikings. One might be over the price range, but Trumaine Johnson, he's 6'2". He was like awesome when he was with the Rams. He went to the Jets. He just became a complete turd. Maybe Mike Zimmer gets in his ear, starts whispering a little bit, and you know how his whispers do. They can make poison to men is what his whispers do.
I don't want anything to do with Trumaine Johnson. He can just stay away.
The one last one I like, Aqib Talib. He loves Gary Kubiak. That could be enough to bring him here. He is older than shit. He's 34 years old. But
hey, you know what else he loves? He loves himself.
Yeah, you know what else he loves? Intercepting passes and knocking them down. This guy is a playmaker, even at his old ass age of 34. You give him the Vikings secondary, I could see him, picking off a handful of passes, even in spot duty. I know Aqib Talib does bring some baggage, but man, he's probably looking for one last push, and the Vikings will be in contention this year, and perhaps it could be a enticing option for him.
Yes, and just a couple of guys. I've mentioned him on anytime we talk about free agent corners. Ross Cockrell, Carolina, still only 29, speedy son of a bitch. He's good, and that's pretty much it for. That's pretty much it for corners.
Yeah, and I feel like the Vikings are committed and they're fine going with this youth movement. I really do.
Yeah,
I think I would be more surprised if they signed somebody than if they didn't.
Well, let's. I'm going to throw a wrinkle at you. One final position.
Yeah.
Safety. We got two very solid starting safeties. There's no question about that. But behind them, we got a couple of very sketchy rookie safeties. Do you think safety is on the table at all?
Man, I don't know. I think they're actually fine with these young guys being the backup role, whether it's Josh Metellus and Harrison Hand. Or if it's Cole or Dorn, whoever it is, I think they're fine with that. Even look at what they brought last year. What was last year? It was Smith, Harris, and then it was Curse, and then
Sendejo, baby.
What?
Sendejo.
Well, yeah, late, but they started with Marcus Epps. So they weren't afraid to bring in a rookie who wasn't expected to do much last year. So why not bring in 2 this year? So I don't think so. I think they're fine. And, Mike Zimmer's even said he doesn't really believe in the safety position in his defense.
I don't believe him. And the only reason I bring up safety is because just like corner, there are still some guys out there that can play at the safety position. It seems like safety always just gets the shaft every free agency. I mean, Tony Jefferson, Eric Reed. There's guys out there, Kurt Coleman, and while they might be a little bit crusty, they can play. And they'll probably come at a very cheap price.
No way Kurt Coleman's come back to Vikings after Mike Zimmer shafted him.
I know. I can't believe that. And just to be very clear, looking at the free agent safeties so far, Fish Smithson is still a free agent.
Who the hell is Fish Smithson?
I don't know, but he played for Baltimore, and he's got one of the best names I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I've never heard of him. Michael Pierce, the juggernaut, has been trying to get Tony Jefferson to come to Minnesota, though.
I would be all for that. I love Tony Jefferson.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. That would be sweet. I love him almost as much as I love Tony Jerdal.
I don't. Actually, that's not true. I do love him.
All right, so if the Vikings do bring in a free agent, we definitely expect it to be at guard, cornerback, or defensive end. I don't think there's anybody else really that we need to go over.
No, that's the big boys. So the fact that those are the big boys, they'll probably come in and sign some sort of quarterback and throw us for a big old fat wrinkle. But the biggest news is DJ Wanham's real first name.
Can I guess?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Dale.
Dale. You know what? Dale is actually not too far off. It's not
Really?
an exciting name, but it's got teeth. Dennis Wanham. Dennis Junior Wanham.
I want to know what the last great pass rusher named Dennis was in the NFL.
Well, that would be Dennis. Yeah, you're right. He's going to be the first. He's going to be the first great pass rusher by the name of Dennis.
You know, the last great biology teacher was with that name.
Damn right.
Dennis Hirschbach. Hey, I also have a little bit of trivia, or not trivia, but a fact for you.
All right, what do you got?
You ever play the game tag?
Yeah, I have.
Are you good at it?
No.
You know what it stands for?
Probably some nasty skin tag.
No, it means it stands for touch and go.